Jessica and Michael had been dating for 4 years. To outsiders, they seemed like the perfect couple smiling photos on social media. Weekend getaways, cute little moments that made everyone envious. But Michael knew the truth. Behind the picture-perfect posts, there were cracks he hadn't fully noticed. Until tonight, it was a Friday evening, and Michael stood in his small Seattle apartment, straightening his tie in the mirror. He tried to force a smile, but it felt hollow. His heart was racing, a knot of unease tightening in his chest. Something told him this dinner wouldn't be like the others. Something told him tonight everything might change. The restaurant was upscale, right by the waterfront, with floor-to-ceiling windows that glimmered with city lights reflecting off the water. Inside, the soft glow of candles flickered across polished wooden tables. Jazz music played quietly in the background, and the aroma of seared steaks mixed with scented candles filled the air. Michael walked in, feeling that even this warm, elegant space couldn't chase away the chill in his chest. When Jessica walked through the door, she was wearing an emerald green dress, her hair pulled into a neat bun. Her expression was calm but serious, and for the first time in months, Michael felt a shiver of apprehension. He stood up and tried a smile, but Jessica only nodded slightly and took her seat across from him. She placed her glass of white wine on the table with deliberate precision, her eyes fixed on him, unreadable. The tension was immediate. Michael took a deep breath, trying to push away the anxiety. But every glance at Jessica widened the distance between them, as if an invisible wall had risen overnight. Finally, Jessica spoke, her voice steady but cold. "Michael, we need to talk." Michael felt his chest tighten. "Talk about what, Jess?" His voice trembled slightly, despite his effort to stay calm. Inside, a storm was brewing. Jessica took a slow breath, her gaze unwavering. Every detail on her face was sharp, slightly furrowed brows, pressed lips, eyes measuring him. "I feel like we've been drifting apart. I'm not happy anymore." Michael froze. For years of shared time, memories, and love now felt fragile, like glass ready to shatter. He wanted to say something, to reach for her, to hold on to them, but the words stuck in his throat. The restaurant seemed to fall away. The music softened. The laughter from other tables faded into the distance. It was just the two of them, sitting across a table that felt like miles apart. Jessica continued, calm yet resolute. "Do you even remember the last time we really talked, heart to heart? Or has it all just become routine dinners? Instagram posts without either of us actually listening?" Michael felt a lump in his throat. He thought back to their dates, once he had assumed were romantic, but now seemed superficial. Jessica had seen it long before he did, and he, in his ignorance, had carried on pretending everything was fine. Jessica set down her wine glass. Candlelight flickered across her face, highlighting the tension etched into her features. "Michael, I think we need a break. I need space for myself. I don't want to pretend to be happy anymore." Michael swallowed hard, trying to process the shock, the heartache, the sinking feeling in his chest. He wanted to grab her hand, to ask why, to plead, but Jessica pulled hers away, subtly but firmly, establishing the boundary between them. Every word she spoke felt like a knife slowly cutting through him, signaling that nothing would be the same again. He glanced around the restaurant. Other couples laughed, shared glances, and smiled at each other. Once, he might have envied them. Now, their happiness felt like salt in his wounds. Michael sat in silence, gripping his glass tightly. trying to keep from breaking down. Jessica looked out the window, staring at the shimmering water, silent for a long moment, letting Michael absorb everything without another word. The jazz music, the clinking of cutlery, the soft candlelight, all of it became the melancholic soundtrack of their unraveling relationship. Michael took a deep breath, forcing himself to stay calm. He knew this was only the beginning. What Jessica had just said wasn't the end. It was a warning, a sign that changes were coming, challenges he hadn't prepared for. They sat in silence, tension crackling like electricity in the air, each second stretching longer, heavier, and more unforgettable than the last. Michael sat frozen, his hand still gripping his wineglass. Jessica's words echoed in his mind. We need some space. For years of dating, for years of shared memories, and now it felt like everything could end with a single calm sentence. He didn't understand. How could something that had lasted so long unravel so suddenly? Jessica stayed silent, staring out the window at the shimmering Seattle waterfront. Michael could feel the emotional distance growing between them, not just physically, but deep inside their hearts. He wanted to reach for her hand, to pull her closer, but he knew, deep down, that one wrong move could destroy everything. Jess. Michael's voice was hoarse, struggling to hold on to every word. Is there anything I can do to change your mind? Jessica didn't turn to look at him. Michael, I've thought a lot about this. This isn't a sudden decision. I need time, I need space, to figure out what I really want. Michael drew a shaky breath, trying to control the lump in his throat. His heart ached as if it were being torn apart. He remembered all their moments together, the first time they met at that cozy coffee shop. Late-night movies, rainy Seattle afternoons, walking hand in hand. And now, those memories felt like they were slipping into the past. Jessica set her wineglass down again. The gentle clink of glass on wood echoed in the quiet restaurant, emphasizing her words. I know this will hurt, Michael, but we can't keep pretending we're happy. I don't want us to be two people living together but growing apart inside. Michael looked at her, searching for any hint of reassurance, any spark of hope, but all he saw was a calm, determined Jessica-like, an unmovable wall between them. But you still love me, don't you? His voice was almost a whisper, trembling. Jessica took a long breath. I still love you, but love alone isn't enough. We both deserve a relationship that truly makes us happy, not just a routine or a sense of obligation. Michael felt the world collapse around him. He wanted to shout, to beg, to plead, but no words came out. He just sat there, watching Jessica, every second stretching like hours, heavy, painful, unforgettable. After a few moments of silence, Jessica spoke again, her voice softer but still resolute. Michael, I want us to really take a break. No seeing each other for a few weeks, no texting, no calls. I need to know what I want, and you need to ask yourself the same question. Michael nodded, even though inside he wanted to argue. He knew he couldn't force her, couldn't hold on to her by any means. For years of believing that love was enough suddenly felt naive, almost cruel. Jessica stood up, gently slipping her coat over her shoulders, preparing to leave the restaurant. Take care of yourself, Michael. And don't forget that we were happy once. Michael watched her walk away, feeling a sharp ache in his chest. He realized he hadn't just lost Jessica in that moment, he had lost certainty, faith in the future, and the sense of safety that had wrapped him for 4 years. But deep down, he knew this was only the beginning. What lay ahead, challenges, decisions, unexpected twists would define their future. Michael took a deep breath, telling himself he needed to be strong, even though his heart had never hurt this badly before. Michael sat alone after Jessica had left the restaurant, the candlelight still flickering across the table but offering no warmth. His glass of white wine had gone cold, much like his heart. He didn't know whether to leave or stay, or what to do with the storm of emotions swirling inside him. He remembered every moment with Jessica. The first time they met at that small coffee shop, late-night movie dates, rainy Seattle afternoons, walking hand in hand. And now, all of it felt fragile, like morning mist vanishing in the sun. Michael picked up his phone, fingers trembling, ready to text Jessica. But he stopped. He knew that sending a message now might make things worse. He exhaled deeply, telling himself to stay calm. But what did calm even mean when 4 years of love felt like a series of doubts, fears, and emptiness all at once? He stood and stepped outside, the sidewalk slick with a light drizzle. The city looked both familiar and strange. Streetlights reflected on puddles, creating a world that was half real, half dream. Michael felt like he had wandered into a place where he had to face himself with all the pain, fear, and the faintest glimmer of hope inside him. Thoughts of Jessica kept spinning in his mind. He wondered whether the few weeks of distance she suggested would really help them understand each other, or if it would only widen the gap between them. Part of him wanted to respect her decision. Another part wanted to beg, to cling, to convince her to stay. That night, Michael returned to his apartment, sitting alone in the darkness. He stared at a photo of them together by the lake, both smiling genuinely, unaware that hours later, that image would only remain a memory. He remembered Jessica's words, "I don't want to keep pretending to be happy." Each word was like a knife cutting slowly through his chest. He opened his laptop, searching for something to distract him, a song, a movie, but nothing helped. He realized he hadn't just lost Jessica in that moment. He had lost his sense of security, his trust in the future, and the feeling of safety that had surrounded him for 4 years. He glanced at the clock, almost midnight, but sleep wouldn't come. The next morning, Michael tried reaching out to a few close friends, but he couldn't fully share the depth of his pain. He decided to spend the day alone, walking through the city, trying to organize his thoughts and ask himself what he truly wanted. But every step on the streets, every shadow, every distant laugh reminded him of the empty space Jessica had left behind. The loneliness and emptiness forced Michael into a deeper reflection. He realized that sometimes love alone isn't enough. No matter how much you love someone, if you don't truly understand each other, if you don't really listen, distance will grow, and pain will quietly pile up, slowly destroying the relationship. The next day, Michael woke up with a heavy weight pressing on his chest. Last night's rain was gone, but the Seattle sky remained grey and overcast, reflecting his mood. He stood by the window, staring at the empty streets below, his mind spinning with thoughts he couldn't untangle. He knew he couldn't just sit there anymore. For years of dating, and he had always believed love was enough to overcome anything. But now, Jessica had asked for spacer, kind of space Michael had never imagined. He wondered if she had seen something he hadn't, or if she had made this decision long ago. While he remained oblivious, Michael decided he needed to act. He picked up his phone but didn't text Jessica. Instead, he began reviewing every detail of their relationship. Old messages, past dates, little arguments. He realized there had been subtle signs of Jessica's growing distance. Moments he had brushed off, assuming she was tired or busy now. Those small details felt like scattered clues, each piece pointing to a truth he had ignored. Anger bubbled up, anger at himself for being blind, and frustration that Jessica seemed just out of reach. He went outside, walking through the familiar streets of Seattle, trying to calm his mind. The cold wind whipped his face, and leftover drops from the drizzle splashed against his shoes. Michael's thoughts raced. Could he still save Jessica? Or was it already too late? Suddenly, his phone rang. It was Tom, his best friend. "Hey man, you're okay? I heard about you and Jess." Tom's voice carried genuine concern. Michael took a shaky breath. Not okay. She said she needs space, and I'm scared of losing her." There was a pause, then Tom said firmly, "Listen, Mike, you need to stay calm, but you can't just sit back. If you still love her, you have to show her. Actions are the only way to save this relationship." Michael hung up, feeling a spark of hope. He realized he couldn't just wait. He needed to take charge, to fight for their love, but also respect Jessica's wishes. It was a delicate balance, risky and demanding, and he had to prepare for every possible outcome. The rest of the afternoon, Michael wandered through the familiar neighborhoods, passing coffee shops, bridges, and parks they had once visited together. Every spot stirred memories, and each memory deepened his ache. He understood that this was a defining moment, a wrong move, and it could all be over. But the right move, if he could find it, might just give him another chance. As the sun began to set, painting the sky in shades of orange and red over the water, Michael sat by the lake, thinking, "I'm not going to lose her. Not without a fight." His heart ached, but for the first time since Jessica's words the night before, he felt a surge of determination. He would face the truth, uncover the signs he had missed, and do whatever it took to save their relationship. That afternoon, Michael couldn't stay still. Ever since Jessica had asked for space, his mind had been spinning non-stop. He knew that if he wanted to save their relationship, he had to take action, but how could he act without making her feel pressured? He started reviewing old messages, emails, and reminders, anything that might reveal signs of Jessica changing. One message from weeks ago suddenly came back to him. "Are you sure you really understand me?" At the time, he had laughed it off, thinking it was a joke. Now, he realized it had been a warning, a signal he had ignored. Michael decided he had to see Jessica. Not to argue, not to beg blindly. He wanted to understand the truth, to know how she really felt, and more importantly, to see if there was still a chance for them. He called Tom, his best friend, for advice. "I'm going to see her, but how do I make sure it doesn't turn into a fight?" Michael asked, his voice shaky. Tom sighed. "Stay calm, Mike. Just tell her how you feel. Ask the questions you need to ask. Don't pressure her. Your actions need to show love without control." Michael nodded, a surge of determination rising within him. He put on his coat and stepped out, heading to Jessica's apartment. As he walked through familiar streets, memories flooded back. Surprise dinners at little restaurants, rainy walks, the tiny arguments that always ended in laughter. Each memory fueled his resolve not to give up. When he arrived, he saw Jessica standing by the window, the late afternoon sunlight streaming through the blinds, casting both warmth and distance. Michael took a deep breath and knocked. Jessica turned, calm but slightly surprised. "Michael," she said softly, her voice steady. "Jess, I just want to talk. No arguments, no pressure. I just want to understand you, and know what we can do," Michael said, trying to keep his voice calm, though his heart pounded in his chest. Jessica stayed silent for a moment, then invited him in. Her apartment looked the same, yet Michael noticed subtle changes: the small paintings on the walls, the neatly arranged books, even the way Jessica moved, confident but distant. Michael started, "I know you need space, but I can't just sit still. I want to understand you. Do you still love me? Or has this been over for a while?" Jessica sighed and sank into the sofa. "Michael, you don't know everything. I still love you, but I've discovered things you never noticed before. Secrets, truths we've never spoken honestly about." Michael held her hand, feeling its cool firmness. "I want to hear everything. No more hiding. Tell me now." Jessica looked at him, eyes filled with both pain and resolve. "Do you really want to know? Because once I tell you, nothing can go back to the way it was. It will change everything. But I think you deserve to know." Michael swallowed hard, heart racing. He knew that what Jessica was about to reveal would be a turning point, shaping their entire future. The room fell silent. Only the faint sound of wind outside the window and the rhythm of their breathing. Michael felt a strange mix of fear and anticipation. He realized he had reached the threshold of the truth, where love, trust, and hidden secrets would finally be exposed. Jessica stayed silent for a long moment, her gaze drifting out the window. The late afternoon sunlight filtered through the blinds, casting shifting patterns of light and shadow across her face, mirroring the turmoil inside her. Anxious, conflicted, yet resolute. The apartment was quiet, only the faint hum of a radio in the background, adding to the tension of the unspoken words between them. "Michael, I guess I've been keeping too much from you," Jessica finally said, her voice trembling but controlled. "There are things I didn't want you to know. But now, you need to know everything." Michael gripped her hand, his heart pounding. "Jess, I'm ready. Whatever it is, I want to know the truth. Please, tell me everything." Jessica exhaled slowly, looking away before speaking the words Michael had never imagined. I've met someone else a few months ago. It's not because you aren't enough. It's because I felt something missing in myself. I had to face it, and I felt I needed to explore it to understand who I am." Michael froze. Each word hit him like a knife through the heart. He couldn't believe what he was hearing. He still loved her, still held hope, and now she was saying she had been with someone else. And it wasn't his fault. "Jess, I don't even know what to say," Michael said, his voice shaking. You truly love me. And yet you did this." Jessica lowered her gaze, eyes glistening with tears. "I do still love you, but I also needed answers for myself. I didn't want to keep pretending, and I didn't want to hurt you. But the truth is, I've been lost. I made mistakes." Michael felt his world collapse. Pain, disappointment, and humiliation overwhelmed him. He slumped into the sofa, burying his face in his hands, fighting to hold back tears. Every memory, every promise, every happy moment now felt fragile, fleeting as smoke. Yet, amidst the pain, a small fire began to flare inside him. He realized he had to make a choice, either let go and accept the truth, or fight for their love, knowing it might hurt even more. He stood, moving closer to Jessica, his voice steady but charged with emotion. Listen. I still want to try. Even after everything, I can't give up on us. If there's even a part of you that still loves me, let's try together. Tell me what you need, and I'll listen. I'll change. Jessica looked at him, tears rolling down her cheeks, a mixture of fear and gratitude in her eyes. Michael, you're really still here, even after all this. I'll always be here, Michael said, determination in his voice. I can't promise perfection, but I promise I'll fight for us. If you're willing, we'll find our way back. Jessica took a deep breath, her eyes wet but resolute. I never thought you'd be this patient. I was scared, but now I see that our love is stronger than any mistake. The room fell into a profound silence. Only the soft whistle of wind outside the window, their quiet breathing, and the faint ticking of a clock filled the space. Michael and Jessica stared at each other, eyes full of pain, hope, determination, and fear. This was a turning point, where both would confront the truth, face their true emotions, and decide whether to heal together or let everything fracture completely. Michael felt his heart beat rapidly, aching yet alive. He knew this was the most crucial moment where every decision, every word, every action would shape their future. He gently placed a hand on Jessica's shoulder and whispered, "We'll get through this." Together, Jessica smiled, tears still streaming, but the smile carried forgiveness, empathy, and hope. They sat in silence, letting the space and time soothe them, feeling a fragile but genuine connection, preparing for a new beginning, or at least a conversation like never before. Evening had settled over Seattle, painting the surface of the lake in shades of orange and red as the last rays of the sun reflected off the water. Michael and Jessica sat side by side, the apartment quiet yet heavy with emotion. They both knew this was the decisive moment, where everything could change, a fresh start or an ending dot. Jessica turned to Michael, her eyes wet but resolute. I never thought I'd feel at peace after all of this. You're still here, patient, and I want to try again. I want us to really understand each other." Michael took a deep breath, feeling relief and joy swell inside him. "Jess, me too. I know it won't be easy, but I'm ready. I promise to listen, to truly hear you, and to love you honestly, no pretenses, no hiding anything." They held each other's hands, warmth spreading through their fingertips. The painful memories, the tears, the mistakes, they hadn't disappeared, but now they felt like lessons. The foundation for a stronger love. Jessica gave a small, tearful smile, one that carried understanding, forgiveness, and fragile hope. "Michael, we'll have to start over from the smallest things. But I believe, if you're by my side, we'll be okay." Michael nodded. "I know, step by step, together. No rushing, but steady. I can't promise perfection, but I can promise I'll never give up on you." Outside, the streets of Seattle had quieted, streetlights beginning to glow. The gentle lapping of the lake echoed softly, in rhythm with their hearts. They sat in silence, feeling the calm after the storm, sensing the real connection between two people who had weathered pain, fear, and uncertainty. Michael whispered in Jessica's ear, "You know, maybe we've learned that true love isn't always perfect. It's patience. It's forgiveness. It's understanding each other even when we're both scared." Jessica nodded, a warm smile forming through her tears. "You're right, and I I want us to rebuild together from the pieces we've broken. I believe we can be okay. They stayed like that as night fell, city lights reflecting on the water, and in that moment, Michael realized love isn't always a fairy tale. It's a journey, a daily choice, a courage to keep loving when everything seems to fall apart. The story didn't end with a perfect happily ever after. It ended with a new beginning, where Michael and Jessica understood that love is effort, forgiveness, and the courage to keep going. They weren't perfect, but they had each other, and that was enough.